Hello and welcome to the show. I am so sorry for being 8 minutes late. I was waking up and you could probably hear the sound of the tea being made. It's good stuff. What I got going for me today is the Dragon's Treasure Uncle Iroh green tea. And my kettle ran out of water, so I needed to go get some more. I tried getting this all sorted out before the show, but that wasn't happening. And if I look funky, it's because I am funky. I am messy from work last night. Lots of dust. You know, I argue whether I should wear the white button up for the show whenever. But I think I will, every time. Every time except for the first time, when I didn't think about it. So anyway, my name is Jacob Davidson. I am from North Texas. And the purpose of this show is to learn about the law and legal documents to try to better understand what the government is trying to do for or against us. And that ranges from bills favoring us to bills going against us. Well, there's some favoring would be the Don't Say Gay bill. There's also the Fair Tax Act of 2023, which I think is favorable, but opinion may vary. I only had enough for like the very bottom amount of it. So I'm gonna pour some more of that, and then I'll get back into it. And this is about school vouchers. I saw it in a news article at work one day, so hopefully it'll be interesting enough. I know school vouchers aren't sexy for everybody. I went to sleep pretty late. I was trying to go to sleep before 10 or by 10, but I ended up going to sleep at around 12-ish, which is no good. Can up, yep. Alright, let's get at it. What's this phrase? What's Camelot's race? Get on it, dog on it? I'm gonna do that. But not before I get to one notification. God, these things chug along. Alright, enough silence. I'm going to get back to it, hopefully. Alright, so there's been talks about vouchers getting moved into Texas. And I've got an opinion piece from the 15th. School vouchers are on the table in Texas. Something from 5 days after that. And 7 days ago, Texas politicians say public schools are failing, rural communities say otherwise. So this is a public school versus private school funding thing. Right off the bat, I will let you know I grew up in the public school system, and I have to say I'm not very impressed by it. But hopefully that'll change over time with better schooling. It's pretty good. So 2 to 3 minutes. On to the topic. I'll start with the earliest one. While I'm at it. Hold on. Sorry. I need to make sure I don't, or I know how many times I can reuse this pot of tea. Because you can rebrew a specific cup or a specific tea so many times rather than throwing it away after you use it. Which was my mistake before. Three to 4 times. So the first time brew. Cool. Texas asking for trouble if it pours billions into unaccountable school choice scheme. Opinion by Jimmy Don Aycock. This is on March 15th. I served 10 years ago 10 years in the Texas State Legislature, 4 of those as chairman of the House Public Education Committee. 4 of those as chairman of House Public Education Committee. I thought he was going to say what else he did. I'm deeply troubled by the recent school choice legislative proposals. My concerns are many, but they all come to the same basic principle. Taxpayer dollars shouldn't be given to individuals without adequate public oversight. Whether you call them school choice, education savings account, or vouchers, the proposal before the legislature would direct tax dollars to individuals or entities with few, if any, safeguards to ensure funds are spent to achieve their stated purpose, education. A persistent narrative claims that public schools are failing. There are certainly examples of campuses or even entire districts that have performed poorly. However, those schools are subject to strict accountability ranging from state issue grade to a complete takeover by the state. Throughout Texas, locally elected school boards oversee both the quality of what is being taught and the prudent use of tax dollars, particularly those levied on homes and business properties or business property. Do we really believe that private providers, corporate vendors, and unelected boards should be trusted to spend between $3 billion and $10 billion without accountability? While the flaws in these schemes are obvious, many of us, some state leaders, are determined to advance them. At the very least, if Texas must have what I believe is bad policy, here are a few ideas to make it less bad. So this is all operating under the presumption that people being able to spend the money is bad because they can't manage the money directly from them. First, most states have started ESAs, have allowed students already in private schools to receive funds. In Texas, that would mean handing over about $3 billion to families able to send their kids to elite and often expensive private schools. And such a giveaway hardly seems conservative. If the objective is to allow schools to leave failing schools, legislatures should limit the funds to students attending schools that receive a grade of D or F in the state accountability system. Second, we often hear that the funds would help low-income parents choose better schools. If this is part of the objective, Texas should require applicants to show financial need, just as we require proof of need for programs relating to housing, nutrition, and health. Third, Texas has one of the most robust testing and accountability systems ever devised. For the billions of dollars that ESA program would cost, taxpayers should participate in the state testing system, and private providers should document how students using public funding vouchers are performing. Simply feeling good about student achievements isn't the same as actually being measured on a meaningful test. Cue in the failings of public schooling right there. Fourth, there are a lot of recent discussions about about what schools teach. Oh, God damn it. An elected panel, the State Board of Education provides broad guidance of what must be taught in public school. While the public might be comfortable with private schools oriented towards mainstream beliefs, are we comfortable with schools dedicated to teaching communism, socialism, or offensive subject material? Accountability isn't about test scores. It's also about community agreement on what our future citizens are taught. Well, I mean, the main solution to this is basically the private schools, because they're receiving money from the people now, would make what they teach public and would give high value to every family member and their voice, as opposed to as it stands right now, where you can't really voice any opinion in the matter of what happens to your kids in a public school, because the board has rules that violate the First Amendment that deny a lot of parents the ability to speak if they get offensive enough about it. So it's not like this guy has any better provides broad guidance. Like, he brings these up, and I mean, you can learn about communism in a public school anyway, socialism as well. An offensive subject material, that's a history class. These are all history class assignments. Whether he means like with schools dedicated to teaching, like as a principal to indoctrinate you. Now that's just up to the parents to figure out. Better schooling is up to the parents at this point. Fifth, a few billion unsupervised dollars is more than enough to attract a lot of corruption. We must be certain that participating private schools are rigorously accredited and that robust taxpayer protections are in place. Quickly started microcampuses cannot be allowed to siphon funding for feel-good programs that deliver substandard results. I also repoint back to public schools and basically oversight committees. The administrative cost is where this goes. This is the administration of public schools. Principals, vice principals, office staff get paid too fucking much to sit around and do jack and shit. It shouldn't be tolerated, but this is the argument this guy's making. So hopefully, if someone goes and points out how public schools are not doing much better in these departments, he would probably backpedal this opinion. A cock. Though I do understand what this is. I get it. Don't want to make money siphon. These are just some of my concerns. I hope the Texas legislature looks carefully at the ESA programs around the country. Louisiana has been a disaster. Indiana and Illinois have been long-standing ESA type programs. Both have seen damage to public schools and minimal success for recipients of public dollars. In Arizona, the recently created ESA program already has a legislator scrambling to curtail waste and abuse. If Texas insists on going down this troubling path, I hope there is a public outcry to demand conservative restraints that provide transparent accountability for the billions of taxpayer dollars that Texas is about to give away. Fucking hell. Both have seen damage to public schools. There's already damage in the public schools. The legacy of public schools is failure. It may have worked in very limited circumstances, but failure, no. It has been failure all the way. Sorry, if you guys are wondering what I'm looking at, I realize I have a ladybug on my arm. So that's fancy. Well then. So that's this guy, Jimmy Don Aycock, a Republican from Killeen, served 10 years. A couple of the comments here, and group. Let's see, actually. Let's go with the comments of this. Not everyone who sends their child to private school has a lot of money, has lots of money. Besides, since I pay taxes, I should at least be able to contribute what I pay towards the education being received. Furthermore, I would think if Texas can validate a school as being an option, there shouldn't be an issue with the funding going to support it. Mr. Aycock claims to be Republican. His diatribe here labels him as one in name only, a rhino. He approaches the subject under the assumption that school funding belongs to the state, i.e. the local or state government. No, it belongs to the people who are required who are required to send it every year. So why shouldn't private providers, corporate vendors, and unelected boards be trusted to spend $3 to $10 billion without accountability? It's their money. Let them spend it how they feel is best. I like BQ Nut. The whole issue of community agreement on what our future citizens are taught is one of the problems with existing government-run schools. There is not agreement. Parents do not want their children exposed to much of what is being taught there now. Yes, ESAs do open shit on. Oh wait. Why did it? Yes, ESAs do open the door to corruption, but this is also true when liberty is paramount over state control. In this case, parental control has a priority over state control. If the government-run schools had not become indoctrination centers that demonstrably fail to educate students in preparation for life, maybe parents would not be revolting to this extent. But that is the way things are. It is vital that school choice be in place to force government-run schools to become competitive. See article previously published in paper. Oh, I am curious about this one. God, these parents are great. It's refreshing when politicians refrain from demagoguery. Oh. Well, Scott Kirk is not so great, but it's whatever. Everyone's got the right to their opinion. This would not be necessary if CRTs were kept out of schools. Get discipline in. Allow and respect trans people to live in a world, not force it on us. Not force us to live in their world. Most importantly, focus on real-world education. That is 3 out of a few comments that seem to indicate this antithesis towards public schooling and a favorable opinion for private schooling, and that Jimmy Aycock is not so smart on this. This was published 2 months ago. Of course, what was linked is an opinion piece combating an opinion piece. So take it with as much of a grain of salt as you want. But of course, it is an opinion piece. Hold on. Pretty good. Dragon's Treasure, everybody. Uncle Iroh's tea. Or Iroh's Legacy too. Happy to get my caffeine from his products. Food is about to get made, or is being made, so I don't know if I'll need to cut out for a moment or hit up the be right back screen. But that's what will happen for me. So once that happens, I'll be back with food, obviously. I'll try not to eat on stream. I'll save it. Though I agree with the parents that I've seen, aside from the Kirk one. The government is going to spend our money anyway on systems that it deems important, regardless of if it's successful or not. So it's not really an important argument on whether vouchers will fail. It removes the failure from the state, which they should be happy about. to failure of the parents. And I think anybody can be accepting of failure of the parents. If the parents try their best and it fails, that's fine. A failed parent choice, it was a choice made with the best intention of the kid. And you can know that for certain in almost every situation, unless the parent is a psychopath who just thinks of their kid as a property. Well, this is assuming that this is a parent that cares for their kid. Because the parent is the most interested party to this kid. And that the kid knows this. If I have a child and I want to put him through school, I know that my interests are the ones with my kid's best intentions. Because why would I want to hurt my kid and put him in a bad school? You know, in the public schools where there's fighting now, you can get your kid can get their ass beat by other students. Hell, your kid could get beat for no reason. A reason such as someone telling him to say something racist, he says no, and then he gets his ass kicked. These aren't public schools. Plus, teachers will get in on it. I've seen a couple teachers start picking up fist fights with kids. The insanity. Anything the state can do, a private citizen can do better. And with full capacity that the choice will be made better. Because it's always better for a private citizen to spend their money with their choices. Or spend their money as their choice, as they decide. School vouchers are on the table in Texas, but do they help students succeed? I saw an article similar to this. It just said school vouchers are on the table in Texas, and this portion of it was despite being publicly disfavored. I'm gonna drop the link once more. Here we are. Theoretically, I only have 30 minutes of the stream left, but I think I'll do 40 more minutes so I can make up for the lost time of the first 8 minutes. What is the symbol, friend? Oh yeah, I'm curious about how that louder with Crowder thing went. Wait, it's called Mud Club now. Was he on for a long period of time? Arcada was on Louder with Crowder My Club, so that was always fun. Supporters of the proposed program that would allow Texas families to use public money to pay for private school tuition say that it would offer an option to students who are zoned in struggling public schools, which all of them are, with very little exception. But research into school vouchers and voucher-like programs in other states suggests their benefits are far from clear. Studies looking at the effects of vouchers programs in Indiana and Louisiana have shown moderate to large declines in academic achievement among students who accept vouchers, particularly in math. In many cases, those academic declines last for years. I don't think the problem there is with the math education program. I think it's just with math. It's rough. Just start hiring the public school people for the private school. Pay them like a good amount. Texas bill would give families money. Yeah, it said that earlier. Introduced by Senator Brandon Creighton. Let's see here. I actually want to pull this up. Senator Brandon Creighton. Momentum growing for vouchers. Houston Chronicle, school choice. School voucher bill. Senate Texas Government.gov. Senate rooms first. Okay. Are they in session? Texas bills. God damn it. See. Brandon. Let's see if his name is in the B's. I need to turn off the dark mode on this one. Okay, back to that. Where's his name? Subject. I'll have to find it later. Would give families who pull their children out of public schools up to $8,000 in public money to use towards private school tuition. The bill is... Oh my god, why didn't I just read further? Senate Bill 8. Yeah, Texas Senate Bill 8. Wait, what? No, wait. What? This is an abortion thing. There we go. Creighton et al. And providing grant for funding for the purposes of conducting review. Establishment of program. The comptroller shall establish a program to provide funding for approved educated related. Verify that the program is used only for approved educated relating expenses. What was it? 8,000? Okay. Yeah. Amount of payment finance. Alright, so I found the actual thing. Good job. Thank you, article. Silas Allen. The bill, which is Senate Bill 8, would also protect districts with fewer than 20,000 students from cuts to state revenue associated with enrollment declines. But bigger districts, including the Fort Worth, Keller, and Northwest school districts, wouldn't be shielded from those cuts. Which is, I say, a fair shielding, because big schools have a lot of people, and not big schools don't. So they can't really deal with a cut if they get their baseline axed. Creighton's bill would also bar districts from discussing gender identity and school orientation in schools with students, with sexual orientation with students, and require that they notify parents of any changes in their child's emotional behavior or physical health. It's basically a parental rights bill as well, added with the portions of funding. In a statement, Creighton, who chairs in the Senate Education Committee, said the bill has the potential to serve more students than any other school choice program in the nation, empowering parents to make the best decision regarding their children's education. Giving parents the power to choose the best school for their children would foster innovative and competitive and competition in education, ultimately benefiting the entire state, Creighton argued. This package of legislation addresses the main pressing concern of parents, educators, employers, and students throughout the state. Creighton said, I look forward to working with my colleagues to advance this legislation and welcome input from every corner of the state as we chart a path forward for Texas education. He says that, but I don't know if he's engaging with countersayers or naysayers. A companion bill, Senate Bill 9, would give across-the-board pay raises to teachers in the state. Although the amount is unspecified, it would also create and fund the Texas Teacher Residency Partnership Program, which would create field-based residency experiences for teaching candidates similar to those that medical professionals go through before they are licensed. A bill in the Texas House, authored by Representative Harold Dutton, Democrat Houston, includes a similar proposal. While we have our differences, we have similarities in some cases. The constitutional carry was actually a bipartisan effort, so that was a nice little show of good faith from the Democrats. Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick back school. What? Oh, Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick back school vouchers like plan. Okay, so both those dudes have made voucher-like programs a priority for current legislative session. In Abbott's state address in February, he called for Abbott's state of the estate of address. State of the state address. Oh, it's like the State of the Union. In February, he called for education savings account to be made available to every family in Texas, saying it would be a way for families to push back against the woke agendas and indoctrination in their local school districts. You know, people often kvetch and complain about indoctrinations of parents, but getting indoctrinated by your parent is just a natural course of, well, having a parent. Being indoctrinated by a school or a state is far worse. Abbott said frequently that public schools wouldn't see their funding reduced due to voucher-like plan, but in audio secretly recorded and published online last month, a high-ranking official in the Texas Education Agency can be heard acknowledging that districts could expect to see fundings cut if such policy passed. Well, I mean, naturally. In the audio, Deputy Commissioner Steve Leschlop speaks by phone with an unidentified mother who transferred her child from Joshua Independent School District to a parochial school. When the mother expresses reservations about how a universal voucher program would affect other students, Leschlop downplays the negative impacts by acknowledges that a vouchers program lead to public school enrollment declines, forcing districts to make tough staffing decisions. If only the staffing decisions would cut the administration, it would have fixed the problem a lot. School districts, what they have to do is, if they lose students, be smart about how they allocate their resources, he says. Maybe that's one less fourth grade teacher. Okay, Indiana program led to academic declines, probably just a bunch of yeah. It's a naysay about okay, it's still hot. 55. In 2018, researchers from University of Kentucky and Notre Dame University looked into the initial rollout of the Indiana Choice Scholarship Program the largest school voucher program in the country. In that study, researchers found that students who accepted vouchers lost ground in math, and that those losses persisted for years afterwards. In English, the program showed no clear effects. You know, what if the main problem is that the public or the private schools would have to make up ground for the lost math standard from public schools? I can't say that my math skills from public school were great. I try, but, you know. Although school vouchers aim to provide greater educational opportunities for students, the goal of improving the education performance of low-income students who use vouchers to move to private schools has not yet been realized in Indiana, researchers wrote. When Indiana introduced its program in 2011, vouchers were only available to students who came from low-income families and had been enrolled in public schools the previous year. A large percentage of the students who accepted vouchers at the beginning of the program struggled academically in public schools, said Joe Waddington, a professor in University of Kentucky's College of Education. Ugh. He was one of the researchers who conducted the study. When the students moved into private schools where expectations were higher and the curriculum was more rigorous than anything they'd seen before, many struggled to keep up, he said. The conversation with teachers, principals, and parents, students at 12 private schools across Indiana, researchers learned that first year was particularly challenging for voucher students, in part because the volume of homework that they were expecting to complete each day. Researchers also learned that it mattered which private schools students transferred into, Waddington said. In the conversations with students and parents, they found that students who transferred into private schools that was in an urban setting and had students from a range of racial and ethnic and socioeconomic backgrounds generally had an easier time adapting to their new schools. He said those students felt welcomed immediately, and teachers at those schools already knew how to work with students from a range of backgrounds. But those who transferred into this is racist. But those who transferred into private schools in urban settings where students were uniformly white and affluent had a harder time adjusting to the change, he said. Now try it with all black. Just try it. See if that works out just as well. It's not a diverse background. Just try it. Look into it. Racist. Researchers noticed the effects were more pronounced in math than in reading. Waddington said that... Oh shit. Said that because of the sequential nature of math instructions, each mathematical skill students learn in class build on all the skills that came before it. So students come into class without the same prerequisite knowledge as their classmates. It can become difficult for them to catch up. I feel like the easiest fix for this would basically be like private school, summer school. Something to bring the kid up to snuff. Like a baseline test to see where you need to start them. Or benchmark. The rest of this just studies. Texas politicians say public schools are failing rural communities. Communities say otherwise. Or Texas say public schools are failing. Rural communities say otherwise. Well, I mean, of course, the education out in a rural community is not so great. So of course it's going to be better than in the urban areas. Since 1956, the idea of school voucher programs in Texas has been consistently and successfully shot down by Democrats and rural area Republicans. I can only wonder why. Governor Greg Abbott made a statewide school voucher program a high priority this session, speaking about education freedom in cities around the state during parent empowerment nights. David DeMatthews, University of Texas at Austin education leadership and policy professor, said a voucher program would have a detrimental effect on rural communities. You know, the bill did say that it wouldn't cut fundings against public schools if they kept their classes. Of course, this also probably means to say it has a detrimental effect on rural public schools. In rural communities, public schools are one of the few institutions that are still there and providing services and support. So they're proud of their public schools. They work for their public schools and they vote at their public schools. They go to football games. Look, if the pride of a public school in the rural community is strong enough that it is actually good or better than urban public schools, then there is no need to worry about the public schools in the rural community. The rural community will outlast whatever impact that this thing might have. Because if they have enough pride in their public schools, then they're going to keep it up. It's not like that just because the choice appears that all of them are going to suddenly vanish. And even if they do, they'll probably come back if the private schools suck. I mean, I don't think that they're going to suddenly move away from the public schools that they worked so hard to build just because the option to move away from it appears. I mean, some might see, like, hey, let's try this place out. It might be better. Who knows? Would a voucher program help or hurt rural districts? Senate Bill 8 introduced, $8,000. The bill was created to give Texas parents choice. I've heard so many parents and teachers across Texas raise concerns about what is being taught in classrooms today. Our schools are for education, not indoctrination, Abbott said in a statement following Parent Empowerment Day at the Texas Capitol March 21st. The solution to this problem is empowering parents to choose the school that's right for their child, and that's what we will pass this legislative session in Austin. Of course, this also goes both ways. The other private school that one could put their kid in could also include all the indoctrination from the public school without any of the educational benefits. But that's, of course, the choice of the parent. Okay, by expanding school choice, empowering parents to choose the opportunity that works best for their kids, Texas will excel like never before. Now it's time for school choice in Texas. During a speech at Texas Capitol, Abbott said the pandemic shed light on what students were being taught in public schools. We saw astonishingly what some of our children were being taught it could be in urban districts, it could be in suburban districts, and I've got to tell you, it exists in rural districts too. Or also, our children are being taught a radical woke agenda. I mean, even if there weren't, private school selections should be an option. Should be help funded. Morgan Mill ISD, located in community of Morgan Mill, which is located north of Stephenville. That was a lot to say that I don't know where it's at. Consists of one school where grades pre-K through 8th grade. Superintendent Wendy Sanders also worked in public education for 15 years, exclusively in small rural schools. While urban area districts grapple with book bans and critical race theory, Sanders said her district doesn't deal with those issues. It probably doesn't deal with those issues. Sanders said most schools in Erath County share a general feeling of community support for public education. For rural superintendents, the idea of public schools failing students is far from the truth. It is my opinion that people in Austin are pushing these voucher programs or trying to create the illusion that public schools are failing. But that is not the case in any way, shape, or form, Sanders said. I don't get why they cut these quotes with he said or she said and then finish off without saying that. Lipan ISD in Hood County has community support which did not falter during the pandemic. Lipan ISD Superintendent Ralph Carter said the district was able to pass its bond in the middle of the pandemic and has received community support in both its academic and athletic programs. They realize that we have an open environment and they come in and voice their opinions, and they come in and roll up their sleeves and help us do what needs to be done, so I would say our community support is tremendous, Carter said. It received an A rating by Texas Education Agency for 2022, ranking high for college and career centers' career readiness to our performance and graduation rates. Man, if only I could have gone there as a kid. Carter said the voucher program could hurt students who cannot afford the total cost of private education, said the economy of the city. While there are private schools outside of Lipan, there are no options in the area. Carter said, if Lipan ISD students were to use voucher programs to move to private schools, it would require traveling outside the city to Granbury, Stephenville, or Weatherford, unless they opted for an online program, he said. The biggest employer in Lipan is the school district, and if the public school closes, that's going to negatively affect the community. The biggest employer in Lipan is the school district. Oh, gee. And I have no doubt that the Lipan School District is actually good and actually worthwhile going to. But I mean this totally doesn't speak to a motivation as to why they would like it outside of, being good. I realize we do have some teachers that drive in, but the vast majority live right around Hood County area. Either Erath or Hood or Parker and come in from those areas. It would be debilitating to the economy of any rural community that the primary source of income is the school district. Primary source of income. As someone close to me once said, maybe don't put all your eggs in one basket. Because your livelihood is depending on one business, then, don't do that. Of course, this was said in the COVID context where people were having their businesses shut down, and tough luck to business owners, but, that's what this guy said. The idea of school vouchers in Texas dates back to 1956 when Legislative Advisory Subcommittee on Segregation in Public Schools proposed a way to give parents a choice to send their students to an integrated school or not. Oh, this. The committee was created in response to Brown v. Board, which made segregation in public schools unconstitutional. It's a little interesting that it's back that far. But I mean, it is proper. If the black community didn't want to go to a white community school, and white community schools didn't want to deal with the black community schools, that should have been how it went. The abolition of compulsory education in such situation gives the parent a choice, the choice of integrated education for his children, or no education. Subcommittee members said in a report, "We do not believe that this is a satisfactory choice, and accordingly, we recommend that the legislature give serious consideration to some sort of tuition grant plan, whereby a parent who does not wish to place his child in an integrated school may receive state funds to have the child educated in a segregated, non-sectarian private school." Since then, the Matthews said legislation promoting a voucher program has always been voted down in a bipartisan way. Okay, not a whole lot left. Have school vouchers programs worked in the past? Research from other states indicate academic decline among students who accepted vouchers, the Matthews said. Mostly in math, yes. In studies on the Indiana Choice Program, University of Kentucky, Notre Dame. Yeah, this is basically this one. And I mean, I know I said the whole thing against the public school in the rural communities in like a sinister, cynical way, but like, it sucks if it hurts them, but it's ultimately up to the parent's choice. A parent should be able to choose, even if it leads to failure. And the only reason why their community has been built up as much as it has is because it's been a mandatory thing. They've been mandated to go to these places for their kids no matter what. Or homeschool. But homeschooling has been looked down upon. How's homeschooling worked in Texas? And good citizenship, great. I'll come back later with that, some sort of research on it. Oh yeah, audio of post to YouTube recording. T Deputy Commissioner may have to make cuts to school districts. The Matthews said decrease in public schools would mean cutting a teacher. Yep. For Morgan Mill ISD, loss of funding from public schools. Public school students moving to private education would have a heavy blow felt beyond the school district. I mean, they would just have to go to a different education. Or they could get... Or Or the private schools that dealt with these public school teachers, or the private schools around these public schools, could hire the teachers at a similar or improved rate that they pay the public school teacher in the public school, to continue that employment and to keep the value of the teacher ability to teach, but in a private school setting, so that way no one is truly lost, but the building is just not used as much. What the concerns are is that there would need to be a bill that would basically say, or in a negotiation with all private schools, to either accept staffing from a public school in the move with the vouchers, or have someone come in to meet the qualification, some way to establish that the staffing would continue, that no one would lose their employment. The school is the center of this community, Sanders said. It is the biggest employer in the Morgan Mill. Everybody in this community supports the school very much. And who knows, maybe it won't fail. Maybe it'll continue to thrive. It's just, it should be a choice. That's all that matters. This tea is actually really good. I like it. I don't think it worked out very well earlier because I had it sitting in there for a little bit longer because I had to go refill my kettle. I attended public school here in Fort Worth, and I got an excellent education that helped me get scholarships to college school. I hate the thought that tax revenues need to keep the public schools afloat, maybe directed to pay for vouchers to buy private school education for the children of wealthy and privileged schools, families. It would elevate the low-income families up to that level, idiot. Use of public money to underwrite the efforts of the wealthy, undermine the efforts of the wealthy to abandon public schools is a dangerous and wrong-headed, in my opinion. That politicians support cutting funds for public schools to pay for private schools for the rich is an indicator for how detached those. It's not schools for the rich. I mean, it should also have some sort of stipulation that tuition for private schools should not increase for vouchers. Like, these aren't schools for the rich. They just happen to get paid well enough that they could get rich. It's an access to those. The rich left public schools a long time ago, yeah? I'll probably get into this later. It is a little lengthy. I do agree with the voucher program. I think it is probably going to be a better choice in the long run. However, we'll have to see how it turns out, because I don't think everybody is quite on board with it yet, and I don't think everyone will be on board for quite a long time. We'll just have to see. I'll get into this bill later. It probably won't be that long because I could just click one portion of it and it'll send me to that section of it, or for that exact law. or statute. And it's all right here. Also, the underlines is what is added. So this portion is entirely new. Anything that has a strike through it is removed. So it'll be easy to read through, see what is new and what's not new, or what has also been removed. I'm gonna go down unwind now and get ready for work and cool off because I have had these fans off for a while now. So thank you for anybody who showed up to watch. Thank you to anybody else who comes to watch later or on the replay. Hopefully I didn't utterly disappoint. I do realize that starting was a bit rough and probably killed a lot of interest. Hopefully I'll see you guys later. And we can talk more about whatever. I am needing to improve how I approach this, because the ability to find a topic is rough for me, and it's hard to do because I don't really think about trying to find a topic. So I'll probably start looking through news of the day at the start of a day or at the end of a day and cover either yesterday's news or rapidly try to find some news article for the current day and get quickly accustomed to it or read through an article about it. I think that is probably the best choice for how to proceed. And once again, like I said, thank you to everybody who showed up to watch, either now or later. It all the same. It means everything to me that you guys, even on a replay, come to watch what I've got to say and actually enjoy. Even if it's just reading an article, hopefully I'll get to do more. Hopefully I get to be at this longer. This is an investment that I'll have to make, get more into it. Hopefully if it becomes more of a long-standing thing, it'll eventually pay off and I'll be able to do long-term and I'll get to do better research. Of course, I'm also still forming my opinions on a lot of these things as I'm going along. I'm unfortunately like 24 years old, so I don't have the strongest stone of opinions. It's all very malleable right now. And I'm hoping with good guidance and personal introspection that I get to be a good commentator or a good coverer of topics, and hope that my opinions are not flimsy and fallible. Oh, also, happy to say, the Prepare book. Gosney's book came out. I got it. The foil text is outstanding. And I think the paper quality is better on the first copy as well. Thank you, Gosney. Thank you. I will hopefully have him back on for that. We will figure that out later, though. But yes, once again, thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you on the next one. Hopefully with something more interesting as a topic. It's all going to be very personal to Texas, so be prepared for that. So yeah.